Hello, my fellow lonely trollops. Coming to you today with a review of Lady Anna by Anthony Trollope, an 1874 novel, which Trollope wrote as he took a boat from England to Australia. So I think it's from the 25th of May, 1871 to the 19th of July of the same year. He wrote this, what I think comes up as a 560-page novel. So just coming off of NaNoWriMo, yeah, I can suck it. So yes, Lady Anna, what Trollope considers his favorite book. What does he say? He's like the best novel I ever wrote, very much, quite far and away above all the others, with lots of exclamation marks. He thought this was his best novel. At the time, it really offended people. It was not a favorite novel. And it's rather sank without a trace at the time. And even nowadays, I don't hear it talked about too much. So I was very interested to pick it up and see what I thought about it for myself. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this book. It is a skinny Anthony Trollope novel in that it basically just follows kind of one plot line. There isn't the multiple plot lines that give you the 1,000-page or near 1,000-page, 900-page novel books. This is kind of the lean and mean Anthony Trollope, as lean and mean as he gets at 560 pages, at least by the Oxford University Press. That's where I got my number from. I did it by ebook in LibriVox. But yes, so let's get into the story, the general plot. So the general plot is that Josephine Murray, Anna's mother, marries Earl Lovell, a rakish man, but rich and has a lot of money, has his estate, but so she marries him basically for that. It's a practical decision on her part. She knows that he's a wild man, but she thinks, okay, well, I'm going to take that because I'm going to do it. They get married. She has Anna. And then he turns around and says, "Oh, I've got a mistress not a mistress. I've got a wife in Italy, and we're never married. You can toodle off. Just leave. And Josephine, the Countess at this point, now Countess Lovell, does not do that. She stays put. And indeed, in the end, he ends up just going off to Italy on his own and spends 20 years there, while back in England, the Countess, you would hope she would hope that there were people who would actually stand by her. Some of her family tries to at the beginning, but pretty soon it's just like, why don't you just go away, kind of thing. And her only friend is a tailor, Thomas Waite, who has rather kind of radical ideas himself. Does not like the Earl, just on a personal level, and doesn't like what he's done to this woman. And so that is this Taylor is the only one who actually stands by her, giving her both friendship and funds to actually fight her case. And it's a case for bigamy is what they end up going for, which in the end she loses because he wasn't being bigamous, which it's like, so it's like, well, does that mean she actually is married to me? Does that mean that that Anna is indeed his daughter? Still left up to question. The Earl comes back from Italy after 20 years with another woman who is his mistress, and then pretty soon after that dies kind of semi-intestate. He's left all his money to this mistress. Now there's the thing with wealth and title in England. He left his wealth to this mistress, but the whole title and stuff, that goes to the nearest male relative in his family. And indeed, there's a Frederick Lovell who then becomes the head of the family. But if he doesn't have any of the money, he just has if he just has the land, the country seat, he will be a penniless. He'll be a penniless Earl who will be basically kind of a burden on the rest of his family if he doesn't have that wealth as well. Now, pretty soon, this Italian mistress just leaves, sees that, I'm not going to get anywhere with this claim. It's not going to get honored. It's rather dodgy to begin with. she leaves, and the main legal battle that kind of consumes the hulk of this novel is between the Countess level Josephine and her lawyers and the lawyers of Frederick level. And who is going to have claim to the thing, and there's a pretty good case to be made that Anna is his child, is the Earl's child, and she is going to get the money. And there's various lawyers. There's members on like the Lovell side of the family who are just like, these two women are complete fraudsters, and that we should not give them a cent and just drive them out and stuff like that. At the center of all the lawyers, there is a fellow named Sir William Paterson, who is a Whig Solicitor General. Now, Whig is basically they're sort of the kind of the soft, mushy middle. You have the Tories, who are very conservative and very much like grind down all those poor people, and then you have the radicals, which Thomas Thwaite, and then his son, who is now grown up in this time, Daniel Thwaite, are very much radicals who are very much against aristocracy, and would like to do away with that and all these kind of aristocratic privileges, and would like voting rights. This is all set, though it's written in the 1870s, is set in the it's written in 1874, 1870s. It's set in the 1830s. It's primarily around the time of the First Reform Act, which I think is 1832, which is sort of the starts, at least it's either the start of British, kind of modern British democracy, getting rid of like rotten boroughs, expanding voting rights. It's actually the first time that they explicitly barred women from voting. They specifically defined a voter as a male person. So yippee for that, but it's actually, up until that point, wasn't even thought worthy of putting it in law that of course women can't vote. It's like now they actually put it in law, which I thought was an interesting little detail. So either this or the Reform Act in 1867. This is where we get kind of British, United Kingdom's kind of modern democracy coming, and kind of the pulling down of the older system. Very gradual, very British, slow pulling down of that system. So this is all the kind of context for this stuff. We have Paterson here, who is very much kind of the Whig in the middle, which, the Tories think of him as a class traitor, whereas the radicals think of him as just sort of the soft, mushy aristocracy that we should be clearing out, and he's just kind of a hypocrite. But Paterson, he's like, look, why go to battle? Why not just have Anna marry this lord, marry Frederick, and thus you're uniting the two. Everybody gets what they want. The Lovell family is going to have that money to go along with the title and stuff like that, so it's not just kind of a hollow kind of Pyrrhic victory that way. And on their side, on Lady Anna and the Countess's side, they get recognized as rightfully who they are, having properly married the old Earl, and are restored to their place in society. And everybody actually sort of agrees to that, except, and this is the crux of the novel, is Anna has fallen in love with Daniel Thwaite, the tailor, the son of the tailor, and now himself a journeyman tailor. He probably would have had better prospects because his father wouldn't have spent all this money on helping the Countess. He would have given it to his son to actually kind of further his station in life. But instead, that did not happen, and he's just a journeyman tailor working for somebody in London. His father dies in the kind of the course of the legal machinations. But yes, Anna, who has not known kind of the aristocracy, has grown up with Daniel, and he was her friend as children, and then as they've grown, that has become a close relationship to the point where she now loves him. Now this horrifies everybody around them. The Countess has basically spent her entire life trying to claw her way back up, and indeed, at first it was for herself, but then it was all for Anna. all to just to try and restore her to her thing. On the other side, when Frederick Lovell and the rest of his, for initially he realizes this. It's like, you've degraded. It's like they draw back in horror, in disgust. This is like, you've degraded yourself. You've actually allowed yourself to love a someone who is so lower than you. You can tell the kind of the disgust and the shock and the kind of reverberations that go throughout this novel. And Daniel Thwaite is kind of, he is a radical guy in this society. He actually sort of reminds me of like a D.H. Lawrence character in the kind of like his earthiness, his forcefulness. Sometimes that kind of comes off as kind of almost like a bullying thing, but he has a kind of a real raw kind of power to him, which is quite striking. And in a lot of ways, he is not a bully to Anna, but his personality is so kind of strong. He's one of these guys that he thinks he's having a normal conversation, but people are like, oh wow, this guy's just radiating kind of a certain kind of a power. And on the other side, Trollope is really good at presenting Frederick Lovell as actually a really decent guy, even a guy who once he's found out that Anna actually has these feelings, it's not just he just doesn't do the kind of the snooty aristocrat kind of going, ugh, you filth, you've degraded yourself, you contaminated yourself, ugh, I'm going away. It's like, no, he does have some of that reaction, but he also goes, no, I need to do this for my family, and maybe I can still get her to love me. And I mean, he's looking at it as like, look, no, we've just met, but maybe we could come to love each other. And it does actually come across as a fairly decent guy. Some of his other relatives do show you that kind of hardcore snob, upper class, like, ugh, kind of filth, kind of their views of Anna, and especially their views of someone like Daniel Thwaite. So that is the big battle in this book. And it's striking. You get someone like the Countess, the kind of the depths and the extremes that she goes to are really striking in this book. The power of Daniel Thwaite, the decency of Frederick, even Anna, who at the beginning kind of comes off as a bit waifish, a bit kind of the timid flower, actually does show her own mettle in this by the end of the novel, and you kind of feel for that. It's a really good dramatization of what was happening in 1830s, in the 1867, just the tumult of this quiet shopkeeper society of Victorian England, of just like how much of a change, of a modernization was happening, and just kind of like just really kind of having a novel which like really does actually question, do we really need aristocracy, like the unfairness of it? Though also having someone like William Patterson Sir William Patterson putting forward the idea of like, look, the people who are aristocratic today, well, generations before, they were nothing and they rose. I mean, kind of positing the idea that like it's human society, and human society is always going to have divisions. And yes, there are useless, brutal people who are aristocrats. Example number one being the Earl, but you also have people like who work in that government who actually are there as public servants who use their talents to try and further this society, and that we wouldn't want to lose them. I mean, you could actually make the argument though that, well, the reason they are able to have that power in their society is because they have that wealth and can get the education and all that, but you're wasting a lot of that along the thing. But I can see how well balanced, especially at the time of this novel was written, of how well balanced it was. I mean, now that we have passed through into kind of a different thing, there's still class, that there still is that idea of class and the unfairness of class, and people who've just inherited their positions, the unfairness of them having all the opportunities, whereas people who are born without that advantage do not get that, and we're wasting that talent there. But also just that idea of like hierarchy in human life. It was like that was actually quite striking. And I'm not going to say about like how this novel ends, but it does. There's a little symmetry there with Trollope going from England to Australia, and these various colonies throughout the world where those old hierarchies weren't. There's new hierarchies getting put in place, but they were much looser, much more mobile, and you have. There's a certain you can see why this novel kind of meant something more to someone like Anthony Trollope, someone himself who was often viewed as sort of a boorish kind of guy, not really, maybe not, didn't have his proper place in society. He was someone who you get the sense with Trollope is he's someone who's looking from the outside in on this, and that probably is what gave him a lot of his strength and a lot of his power as a novelist. So yeah. That is my review of Lady Anna by Anthony Trollope. I'm not quite sure if I would consider it his best novel, but it's really it's a wonderful surprise. I'm always, it's like I've been reading Anthony Trollope novels throughout this year, and I'm just sort of waiting for that giant drop off. But he's always got such great stuff and such great characters that I'm always delighted. And yeah, I guess I will. It's November, so at least while I'm recording this, December, we will see what novel Anthony Trollope I will finish off on, at least for this year, and we'll see what happens after that. I might take a little break from Trollope's, believe it or not, after December, because it's been a lot of Trollope. I maybe will give a little space for somebody else in there going forward, at least for a little while. All right, more videos later.